Hey, thank you guys for coming out for our first P413 baseball event. If you guys don't know, our speakers today is Matt, and you said it was Ken.
Ken, yep.
So thank you, Ken, for coming out. Just let you guys take it away.
Yeah, so P413, they're really trying to do a great thing. So baseball, as you can see, is a priority, but also character development. P413 is actually a scripture. It's Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So I know the owners here, they want a big, like you can see, impact. Like there's a cross at the end of that. So I think they want to do a good job of saying, hey, baseball's awesome. Let's do it. Let's just not do it, but let's do it very well. But they would be missing out if they didn't try to also impose upon you what their heart is for character. So they approached me a while back and said, hey, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I was in the military for 4 years out of high school. Then I've been a firefighter for the next 25. So I'm currently the fire chief up in the northern part of Miami County. And Ken Battiston is here as well, who actually played D1 baseball. One of, I think, probably what you guys are aspiring to. So a little bit about Ken.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, guys. Like Matt said, my name's Ken. I grew up in West Milton, so the Milton Union Bulldogs. I played high school ball there. And then out of high school, I ended up getting lucky enough to play college ball at Eastern Michigan University. Ended up getting, again, was lucky enough to win a MAC title there. And that was a pretty cool experience. And then afterwards, I wanted to go to the pros, but wasn't in the cards. So didn't quite happen, but got to do some other things in the fitness realm professionally that were pretty neat. And eventually led into firefighting, and now I'm also a firefighter paramedic up in Sydney, Ohio.
And I think that's why P413 asked us to, this is the first of going to be many, but more than the athletic side and different things that we've done, we're good husbands. We do good in the community. We try to be servants in our community. And that's something they want to try to get some of you to understand, that like baseball's cool. It can be a vehicle to take you to a lot of different places in life. But if you miss out on some of the character building things, then you're going to miss out in life. So this is my son, Judah. He's going to pass out a couple of these little things here. So we'll jump right into it, guys. We gave a short bio of Ken and myself. And we're going to jump into more stories about our lives through what we're going to talk about today. We'll try to keep it short as can be. But we don't want to miss an opportunity for you guys to grab a hold of something here today. Sound cool? All right. So, Jordan Peterson, I don't know if you guys know him. He's got a pretty cool podcast. But he said there's almost nothing better than character development. And aiming to have good character is the highest aim, the aim that will provide the most meaningful things in your life. And as far as my life, I mean, most things in life, there's going to be fruit, right? If you came to this facility and you do all the training that you do and there's no fruit from it, then why are you here? And that's the same thing I look at in life is, like when I look at people like Ken and other people that I look at, like, hey, would I run into a burning building with these guys? It's like, what's the fruit in their life? Are they positive? Are they somebody, I'll be honest with you, like, what does their marriage look like? What does him being a father look like? And those are the things that are the most important because you, as Ken, he's got children, I got a son, and if you don't leave that mark on them, then I'm not doing my job. So character is really doing the right thing when nobody's watching. I mean, at the end of the day, that's you can come in here when the coaches are giving you a lesson or you're with the team practicing. But really, if you want to be the best baseball player you can be, it's going to be in those times when nobody's watching you. That's when you will stand out, and that's when you will do more things than the other people, or when people aren't watching you. I think.
Yeah, I think to on the other side of the coin there, Matt's the leader of his department, and up in my department, I'm lower in the ranks because I started a little later. But when I look to a leader, I want someone to be honest, straight up with me, and Matt is those things. So that's a pretty cool interaction that we have. His perspective versus my perspective as someone that's following a leader, and Matt being a leader. So that's kind of neat to me. But like you said, integrity, I think, is kind of what you're talking about. Like, character, integrity, doing the things. My son's here, he's waving to me in the back there. But doing the things when no one's looking, you know, like a lot of times we only see the results, you know, of the hard work. You don't see the actual hard work. You know, you get praised in public for these results, but no one praises you when you're here taking 100 swings or 100 ground balls or pitches or whatever. You know, you don't get praised for that in public, and that's fine, and that's okay. You get praised later in public when all that hard work pays off. But it's all those little things that you've done over the years and the months that lead up to that point.
Yeah, so we got four steps. I mean, you guys count the 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Like 4 for 4 on a bat would be a good day for you in the baseball field.
It was a good day.
4 strikeouts, maybe, depending on the outcome of the game.
I've done that a few
My son's
times.
mostly a pitcher. 4 strikeouts.
The golden sombrero. I've had a few of those.
So the first one is the willingness to answer the call. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a scripture that is bar none my favorite, and it's Isaiah 6:8, and it's like basically God's looking around. He's like, man, I got some tough jobs for people to do. I got some things that's going to be difficult for people, but who's willing to take the call? Isaiah stands up, and he's like, you know, he looks around, he doesn't see anybody. He's like, here am I, send me. And I'm telling you, if you can grab a hold of that, because then in Matthew it says, many are called, but few are chosen. And what that means is everybody in life, I mean, if you look at your schools, look at all the kids that are beside you, all the boys, what makes you different? Like, is it because you were born as a baseball player? Like, I assume most of you are in baseball if you're here today. But no, it's like you have chosen at some point in your life that you like it, you like the sport, then you start to put in a little work. You maybe are starting to show talent in some areas, whether that's pitching, hitting, fielding, and then all of a sudden you're somebody, whether it's a parent, grandparent, somebody also says, hey, I want to invest in you. Like, I've invested in this guy. I mean, it's not easy. Like, we're in Troy coming down here and all those winters. But all I ask of him is like, hey, dude, just do what's asked upon you. Just, that's all I say. I will be your champion, but you've got to do what is asked upon you. Like, if you want to be called and you want to be chosen, it takes something for you to do that. So that leads us to the very next one. Step 2 is the willingness to sacrifice. Go ahead, Ken, on the sacrifice, because I remember hearing a story for you is like you were getting towards the end of your senior year in high school, kind of a late bloomer, if I remember right. And so not a lot of things coming your way, and just kind of talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so and I did want to say that willingness to answer the call, I think is huge. It's kind of weird. A lot of things in my life have happened just because I've been willing to say yes and do things that maybe some of my peers weren't willing to do. Whether that's stepping up and just being the leader for a short time, or doing a little bit of extra work, even just like putting away some equipment or staying extra 5-10 minutes to take an extra couple ground balls or swings or whatever. Just those little things over time, saying yes and being open-minded, add up over the years. And your coaches see it, your peers see it, your parents, the role models in your life see those things. And over time, you know, it just becomes second nature. You say, yeah, I can do that. I'll help you. You know, put in the time, put in those efforts, those yeses, they add up. So I just want to add into that real quick. But yeah. The part about willing to sacrifice, you know, my senior year, I thought I was doing pretty well, but there's really not much interest. I was from a small school. I mean, Milton is pretty small, right? It's not huge. If you don't know Milton, you could Google it. I think they're in like D4 or 5 now. I'm not sure, to be honest. I know they restructured, but they're small. And I got incredibly lucky to be noticed by a scout at a game. I had a good game, probably the best game of my high school career. And a scout saw me, got in contact and with Eastern Michigan, and that coach actually called me, signed me sight unseen. He didn't see me, and the first time I ever played in front of this guy, about blew my knee out. I went in, I was in the outfield, and my left fielder was coming in, and we were coming to close, and I was calling it, he was calling it. Neither one of us backed off, and he dove and I didn't, and I ended up going head over heels. About blew my knee out. and ended up having to talk to the coach afterwards, and he wasn't too happy, but it eventually ended up working out. You know, he liked that I was aggressive and didn't back down as the center fielder. But when I got to Eastern, I ended up, you know, I would say a little cocky because I thought I was good, right? And my first at bat was against the MAC pitcher of the year. And right away, I knew I was outclassed. I was like, I've never seen anything that fast in my life. I knew right away I was in over my heels, and that these guys were working hard, right? Like I had to sacrifice all those thoughts of like, hey, I'm really good. Like, no, I'm not even close to being good. I had to take the time and make a decision. Like, am I going to commit to this, or am I going to fold and go by the wayside? And I decided to follow the leaders I had there. I had upperclassmen that put in the work. When I got there, they'd already been there for 2 weeks. They'd been putting in work, reps, over and over and over again. And I think it's why Eastern was really good in baseball. They put in a lot of effort and a lot of time, a lot of sacrifice. They had a summer vacation there, and they sacrificed parts of that. They came to school early to put in the work, and I had no idea what that was about until I got there and decided I had some good leaders and to follow them.
Yeah, so everybody know David and Goliath in the Bible? Anybody that doesn't? Like, raise your hand if you ever heard of David and Goliath. Raise your hand. Like, I got to know mine. So some of you don't. There's a character in the Bible, David, who was the king. He was actually the king, anointed by God. And so I just want to say, with every David, there's somebody behind the scenes that's willing to sacrifice to do their job. And there's a guy named Benaiah who, if you haven't heard of David, you sure as heck haven't heard of Benaiah. But there's a guy in the Bible named Benaiah. And he was actually a warrior. And it's like, being a Navy dude, like I was in a unit that we trained for combat. We were in the Navy Seabees. We'd set up a lot of forward operating camps. And so, I don't know, I just think sometimes I was born with a warrior spirit because I feel different than most other people. Because I'm willing to do whatever it takes. If there's some job that needs to be done, I'll do it. But Benaiah, he was the guy that, in order to do what he was supposed to do, he was David's chief bodyguard. There was a story of him in the Bible where he actually went down into a snowy pit and killed a lion. And there's some different study tools for the Bible, and it's like, why did he do that? Well, first off, that lion was terrorizing this community, but more so, he was preparing he did kill that lion because of what he was preparing to do later in life. Later in life, there was a coup to overthrow David, and then his son Solomon was going to be the king. And if it wasn't for Benaiah, but in order for him to do that, he had to sacrifice through his life. I don't know about you, but I don't think I would. In Troy, we have a circus that comes through every once in a while to Hobart Arena. And I remember one time I'm a firefighter. I'm doing fire inspections. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. There's a circus. There's these trucks got the elephant out there walking in a circle with a rope. I kind of felt bad for the elephant. But all of a sudden, dude, Ken, I heard this roar, and I almost had to go to the bathroom to check my pants because it was under a tarp under this semi, and we were walking right by it, and this lion let out a roar that it was crazy. I didn't know the lion was there, and it was from me to you away, and it scared the crap out of me. And so I wouldn't want to go down into a pit and fight a lion in his own territory, but that's what Benaiah did. So because he answered the call, but he was willing to sacrifice. So I don't know. I know with my own son what his goals and trying to achieve his goals, the sacrifice that it takes for him. Man, there's so many people that aren't willing. And you'll start to see at the age of some of where you guys are, you'll start to see a little bit more of the talent, natural talent, start to rise to the surface. But Juan's back there, and he can tell you, they can spot those kids. But what happens is some of those kids start to get comfortable with where they're at, and they're like, oh, I'm kind of here, kind of like you when you arrived to Eastern Michigan. It's like, dude, I was chosen, now I've made it. And it's like, man, if you grab a hold of, you never make it. I work at the fire department, been there 25 years. I'm 51 years old, and I work out twice a day, every day. I want to be there for when he has kids, and I'm willing to sacrifice now to be able to play baseball. My first one was to be able to play catch with him in the yard. I've had 3 knee surgeries on this knee. And so, but now I do it not for me as much as I'm doing it for my future. Like if you can grab a hold of that sacrifice and what it looks like to sacrifice, earlier in my life I did a little bit of bodybuilding, which was unique. We talked about it last week. Ken does a lot of CrossFit. If you can't tell, he works out a lot too. But bodybuilding is a unique sport because you have no idea who you're competing against. That's a lot in baseball. You have a team and you kind of have an idea now. Like I see Judah, before he goes to pitch the game, he's looking up on Game Changer, like who's this team? What's that batting averages? Oh, the number 1 kid's committed here, number 5. You know, it's like I tell him, stop doing that, man. Just go out there and just like give it your all. And so for me, doing that bodybuilding competition, I had no idea who I was competing against. But in order for me to want to be successful, I had to just do the best that I could every day and know that nobody's going to beat me. It was amazing. I would never do it again, by the way. My wife, she would have left me. But it taught me something to say that, you know what? Every morning when I'm waking up, I'm hoping the other guys aren't. Every morning when I'm checking and weighing my food, I'm hoping the other guys aren't. And I never took a break. And it was like something that just mentally prepared me for a lot of things in my life, that it's like I'm willing to do the sacrifice. I hunt. I don't know anybody else hunt around here. You guys, baseball players. Judah, yes. So, but I go out usually with my brother or some friends, and I love when January, February comes because they will not outlast me in the cold. I'm just mentally strong that way. I will be the last one. If my toes are falling off, I want to be the last one that goes back to the cabin. I want to be that guy. And if you can grab a hold of that at your age, you're unstoppable. You're unstoppable. If you answer the call, you're willing to sacrifice and do the work that nobody else is willing to do, you will make it in this life. You will not only make it in baseball, but you will make it as a father. You will make it as a husband. I'm telling you, if you get into these patterns right now at your age, and when you're in school, like you got straight A's in the beginning of the school year, and then all of a sudden it's like it's easier to maintain A's than to try to bring a C up to an A or a D, right, Judah? Like he'll attest to that. And like when you get to his age, it matters. Your grades matter. Like now there's some, baseball's getting really unique in the scholarship, but for most kids, there are no full scholarships for you. We know one that is probably one of the best baseball players in this area, and he's still looking at over $20,000 a year for college. One of the best. Has a potentially opportunity to get drafted, but he's still going to have to pay for college baseball. And so I'm telling you guys, like it's easier to start out of the gate and just be that guy with the mental mindset of like, nobody's going to outwork me. When I'm in the game, I'm never going to take a play off. I'm never going to take it. You guys watch the World Series? Like the games that I watched, those dudes, like, I'll just be honest, the Yankees kind of gave up on plays. Lots of them. I watched it. I'm like, man, it's like they gave up on a lot of plays where the Dodgers were just like they were in it, like every play. Like the game that Cole pitched, like there was a few errors that happened, and then all of a sudden it was like they were up 5-0. Next thing you know, they're down in 1 inning, and you could see the whole shift. You could see the people's faces. You could see it. But I'm telling you, if you have that mental mindset and you're willing to sacrifice, nobody will and nobody can beat you in life. Nobody.
I think a lot of what Matt's saying is you got to have belief before ability. So you might have some ability, but you got to believe in yourself for that ability to shine through. And belief in yourself will take you a very, very long way. Even if you don't have the most ability in the world, that belief, once you start believing in yourself and you believe that anything is possible, like you truly believe anything is possible. And when you say it, you mean it. You're not just saying it to say it. Then it's going to take you a long, long way. And you're going to start seeing yourself outwork those around you or those that have more ability. You're going to see yourself starting to catch up to them and surpass them. And if you have the ability and the belief, then you're gonna excel. You're gonna fly through this process that you guys are in right now. And if you don't get as far as you may have hoped, that's all right. You've developed an incredibly strong mindset. You believe in yourself, and no matter what path you take, you'll have that for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter what career you end up in, if it's baseball or firefighting or whatever you end up doing. Having that belief, knowing who you are and that you can do anything, will take you a long way, whether it's in a career, marriage, being a father, I mean, those things you'll come to in time, and that perspective will shift a little. Right now, don't worry about that stuff, but it'll come in time, and having that belief will take you a very, very long way.
So the next step, willingness to be wrong. Humility is a tough thing, guys. It really is, especially like if you're a part of the P413 organization, man, it's an organization that does very, very well, right? I mean, the baseball teams are getting so good, and I've watched them in this area. It's hard for other teams to compete. Occasionally, we'll go to the bigger tournaments. At least the ones I was with, Judah. You go down to Florida, you'll get humble. You'll eat some humility down there. But when you're around this area, you're some of the top dogs. And so humility, willingness to be wrong. Like if you're within this organization under this, you will have coaches that will be willing to tell you you're wrong. But I've watched some baseball players since my time being here who did not carry humility. And it's a bad combination. It's a bad combination. Also, some of those kids didn't fail a whole lot. They didn't give themselves an opportunity to fail. So what I mean by that is, like, as firefighters, we have to train to failure. Like, we have to put ourselves in situations where we fail. Like I just watched our guys this past week. We put ourselves in these masks where we breathe on a tank of air like you would be underwater. And our guys, we put these blackout things on them, and we would have them walk around this place. Like walking around here, like we turn off the lights, you guys will have a hard time getting out of this place. Now imagine that, where it's like you purposely put stuff to make these guys fail. Not only fail, but let their air run out. Now you can't breathe. We've got to make them feel that. That way, if it ever happens, they know what to do. Because there are always safety components of what we do that they should be okay. Even under those circumstances, we'll have guys that can help them. If he doesn't, which he probably wouldn't, he wouldn't breathe as much as me. Like if we went in the fire, Ken's in a lot better shape than I am, and I might run out of air before him, but we have a way that he can give me air. But if I fail and I pull that mask off, I'm going to die. That's why we train the way we train. Like what I've seen too, some of the kids in baseball, some of the best don't want to fail. They don't want to be put in that game where it's like, hey, we need you here, and we're playing whatever Rev group we played down in Jupiter, Florida, where Judah got out there and he tossed the game, and it's like those dudes were men. Like, and I'm looking at their website, I'm like, who are these guys? It's like a prep academy, and I don't know if we would have had the best of all P413, we would have beat those guys. But it was a humbling experience for Judah, and it's like he learned from that. Like if you don't fail in life, then you're never going to get better. You're not going to know. So actually, Hank Aaron said failure is part of success. Like in our job, it's actually life and death. Yeah. For you, it's just a matter of like how far you want to go in life. Failure is something, humility. Like if you can say, hey, you know what? The guy in the dugout, what I see a lot as well is a lot of like different personalities of almost occasionally wanting your buddy to fail in baseball. Like, and I'm not saying it's P413. I'm saying I've seen it on the baseball field where the same team, like they're become jealous of one another for doing well. Like you see it in professional sports. Like there's so much video out there now, Ken. Like I would have been in trouble in high school. Now you can't be in an NFL sideline without everything being captured on video. Last week it was San Francisco 49ers. Like Deebo Samuels is choking his long snapper, right? Because he's mad because the kicker wasn't making kicks. So I'm just saying, it's like there's no humility in that. That is such a selfish act. But when you can celebrate each other's success, but also be there when each other fail, because man, this is baseball. Yeah. Like you go 3 for 9 in a series, that's pretty good. So got anything to add on failing?
Yeah, I think
being humble.
Yeah, I think when it comes to failure, and it is part of success, but you can't be afraid to fail. If you're afraid to fail, you're going to play scared. You'll play tight. Don't be afraid to fail. You got to realize that there's so much more to this life than baseball. Like you're not just a baseball athlete. You're a son. Some of you are brothers. Eventually you're going to be husbands and dads. You're going to be a lot more than just a baseball player. So realize that you're not defined by a single at bat. or a single pitch or play. Like, that's not the sole being of who you are. And something I was told in college, I was kind of struggling. I was doing okay, but I was struggling. One of my coaches pulled me aside and was like, hey, Ken, if you fail 7 out of 10 times in the majors, you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. And I never thought of it like that. I was so afraid of striking out that it's all I would think about. It was just, don't strike out, don't strike out. And once that guy, it was that simple. He just pulled me aside in a fall ball game, and told me that. And from that moment on, I was never afraid. I was never afraid to fail. I focused on just trying to get a hit, go back to the mechanics I'd practice, and my career from that point on was much, much more successful. And it really changed the trajectory of how I played and really who I was. So I always thank him for that. It was a really crucial moment. And from that point on, and any fitness endeavor I've gone into firefighting, EMS, I'm not afraid to fail, because I know I'm more grounded in my faith than I ever have been. But I also know that I have a loving wife at home that is going to support me no matter what I do. And I got 2 beautiful kids that love me, and I love coming home to see them and be their dad. So that's just where I'm at right now in my life. I know you guys, you'll be there eventually, but realize it's okay to fail. As long as you've given your best effort and you're happy with that effort that you've given, like, take it and run with it, and be okay with that. If you see your teammate fail, go support them. You never know what'll happen by giving one of your teammates just a little bit of words of encouragement. Lifting each other up, being humble servants.
One of the things I noticed too in young boys, is a reluctance to ask for help. Or like I was a young firefighter, and it was in about year 5, there was an opportunity for me to be promoted to that first spot. And like in the fire department I work in, we compete against each other to get to promotions. Like same where you work. They don't hire somebody else as an officer somewhere else and come in, now they're your boss. It's all within the organization. And so I remember the first opportunity I had for promotion. I've always grabbed a hold of this just because I was raised that way. And I remember it's like, well, if I want that spot of at that time it was called a platoon commander for us, then I need to go to the one I feel is the best platoon commander and ask him, like, how did you get where you're at? And that was almost unheard of. Like when I did that, everybody else, like they kind of hide away, like I could do this on my own. I'm going to show weakness by asking for help. I just have never looked at life that way. Part of it is in the military. We couldn't do what we did without each other. And so I know even with my own son, sometimes he has a hard time like working on the things that can make him better, which are his weaknesses, and then asking for help for that, right? Like I can offer him a lot of help, but he has sometimes a reluctance of asking for help from me. So it's something that is you're not born with it. It's something you actually have to work on as young men. Like say you're struggling in a math class and there's a girl over there that's the best. Like she's not going to come to you. The person that's doing the best in class isn't going to come to you. But I guarantee you go to them, they would be like, yeah. Like you say, hey, I'll buy you a Monster, whatever you guys drink. I don't know, you guys drink a lot of weird things nowadays. But like, hey, I'm struggling a little bit here. And you look like you do it so easy. Like every time there's a class assignment, you're scoring 99. It's those little things. Like there's so many areas. Like if you start small and you start asking somebody for help, you see somebody swinging better. And it's like, dude, like, how do you squeeze it through like the 2-hole every time? Like the 3 or 5-hole? Like how do you do that? Like I move my feet. I don't know. It's like this. Like if you are able to do that in these little things later in life, I'm telling you, you can't do life alone. We weren't created to do life alone. But the sooner you can grab a hold of that concept and start asking those around you into what Ken was saying, because really you're celebrating the success of somebody else. Like if it's a math class, you're celebrating the success of probably a girl who's probably like, because Judah talks to me a lot about his classmates, and he's got a cousin that just scores straight A's on everything she does. But it's not easy. She has to work at it. But if you can get that habit of like just a little thing of asking somebody like, how do you do that so well? Because like it will open up doors for you for the rest of your life. I promise you that. I promise you that. The other thing about that is in this realm of what you guys do as baseball, there's a lot of jealousy. There's a lot of jealousy. When people look at this, like in hit tracks, whatever you guys, the metrics, it's like people become jealous of other people who are at the top of that list. Instead of being jealous, like actually, like enjoy the success of that. You know what? There's a saying I heard recently. It said that people are jealous of what you have, not how you got it. They're not. Nobody will ever ask you how you got to the top of that board. They're just going to be jealous that you're at the top. That will be something that when you start to be successful in your life, people will be jealous and start to talk about you. Like, it's not easy being a fire chief, I'll be honest. It's like there's people that would love to see me fail every day. And then they're talking about me. People are like, hey, you ever get angry that people are talking behind your back? No, because if they're talking behind me about my back, I'm already in front of them. People are talking about you, you're already in front of them. Like, if you grab a hold of that mindset, because it would, like, what am I going to do about it? How am I going to change people that want to talk bad about me? I'm not going to do it. But I will say this, of asking for help, like this facility is growing and it's growing fast, and there are so many people that are willing to help you. Say you do a hit track session and you're just struggling, whatever. It's like, man, on your way out, ask a coach, like, hey, dude, you got time to watch me swing just twice? Watch me swing twice, just give me a tip. I only want 5 minutes of your time. They're not going to say, yeah, book me the next session. It's going to cost you whatever. No, they'd be like, yeah, dude, I got 1 minute. I'll show you something. The next one, man, and this I know is Ken and I know it's me. Willingness to be different. Willingness to be different. Like there are social media warriors out there, dudes. Like, you're going to be on those TikTok reels, Instagram, whatever. You're only seeing what these people want you to see. Like, that's it. If you're aspiring to be what they're showing you, like you don't even have a glimpse of their life. Like, the scripture is clear. It says, hey, you were created to be you. The hairs on your head were counted, right? So you were created to be you. You were created to be different, and then celebrate that.
Yeah. I think it's it's easy to get lost in the world today of social media. I mean, and it doesn't even have to be social media. It could just be your local high school, like your local group. You could get lost trying to imitate, your best friend when that's not really who you're called to be. You are exactly who you are meant to be, and that's really hard. Especially, I would imagine, right about now in your guys' life. There's a lot of changes, and you're kind of figuring out who you are, and it takes time. I mean, you may not figure out fully who you are until you're in your 20s or 30s. It takes a while, and that's all right, as long as you're willing to ask for help when you need it. It's not weakness when you ask for help. Okay, when you ask for help, people want to help you, and those in your support system, those closest to you, are happy to see it. Your coaches take that as a sign, as like, hey, this guy wants to get better. All right, your parents are like, awesome, let me help you through this life. Okay, it's tough to do, and through those experiences, you're going to figure out who you are. And if it's not what everyone else is, that's fine. You can do that respectfully. You don't have to be super prideful and show off and be like, oh, I'm so unique, look at me. Right? You don't have to do that at all. You can do it with a nice, humble attitude and more of confidence than pride, right? You don't want to show out and do all that, but you want to be confident with who you are. And if it's a little different, that's fine.
Like, you guys are going to start to encounter things in the dugout, right? Your guys' age, you're getting into that age where people are going to start experimenting with different things, nicotine pouches, you name it, lots of monster drinks, whatever. I saw an interview. There's an interview floating around with Freddie Freeman when he made it to the minor leagues. It's like there was a local news wherever it was, and he looks so much different way back then. And they're like, hey, you're the next big thing. You were drafted this big, and like, what makes you you, and like, what do you see your future? And he's like, I'm different. He's from Canada, and he's like, dude, I'm different. He lost his mom at a very early age, about lost his father. And he's like, when the clubhouse are out drinking and doing all these things, I don't do that. He's like, I wasn't raised to do that. And it's like, I'm just different. I don't fit in sometimes with these guys. That's going to have to be you. That'll be a choice that you want to make, because there's always going to be somebody in the dugout that wants to bring you down to third level. And you're going to have to make those big boy decisions when those times come. If you want to be like everybody else, Or do you want to be somebody that your goals, that you're doing what it takes to achieve those goals? So trust me, there's going to be a time in your life where there's going to be somebody that isn't doing, or their trajectory of life isn't what yours is. Like, you have the opportunity to keep this trajectory of your life going up. And to what Ken says, like way after baseball, like the decisions you make, and the willingness to be different. Anybody know about the service academies? Naval Academy, West Point. You guys ever hear of those? All right? No? No? My gosh. So the Naval Academy, D1 baseball. West Point, D1 baseball, D1 football. Air Force Academy. So the military academies, what happens is it's a college. It's like they're Ivy League schools, and the best of the best get in there, and they become our military officers. But in the meantime, they have D1 sports. Right now, I think Army was undefeated still.
They're doing good. I don't know if they're undefeated.
Navy got beat by Tulane, but I follow it because I love Navy. So what happens is all of those athletes have to get, the only way to get into those academies is get a nomination by a congressman, a senator, vice president, or president. Those 4 individuals. If you live in this area, like where we live, it's Congressman Davison. He's one of the ones that can give a nomination. There's a board that interviews these kids. I've sat on that board for 8 years. It's amazing because I get to interview young men and young women trying to get into service academies. And we get a lot of baseball players through Moeller, right? Moeller's like they're a powerhouse for baseball. And so any one of those individuals that want to go, for whatever reason, there's a lot that want to go to the Naval Academy and West Point. And so they have to come and be in an interview with me and 4 other people. And we get to say yay or no. We get to say yes or no. It's that simple. Some of these athletes, and now this is the cream of the crop, by the way. These kids coming through the service academy have known they want to do that since they were 8 years old. A lot of them are military officers, their children, or somehow there's a connection. I've never encountered anybody wanting to go to service academies where their grade point average isn't below 4.0. Now with college credit, you can get above that. These kids, it's crazy. Like, I enjoy the process because we're still getting good people. But what's funny is the athletes coming through. You'll get some that are amazing, and then you'll get some of these kids that are so arrogant that think that just because they're a stellar athlete at a Moeller or a Lakota, that they're just going to automatically get this nod. We've said so many times no to these athletes. And so we're getting into the practical tips for you guys. Is like, I can tell in 5 minutes the character of what's before me. And Congressman Davison is very clear to the board. He's like, I don't want people leading our country's military that are cocky, that think they have it all, and that don't want to serve their country. He's very clear. So we have a marching order by him. And so when these individuals sit in front of me, I know character. I interview people for the fire department, have for the last 20 years, and it's like, I know character. And so what happens is they'll lean back like this, like come in, and like these big dudes, like I saw one last year, he was like 6'7", and he was a baseball player, looked like Aaron Judge. I'm like, oh my God, who is this guy? And he sits back in there and he's like, and here's how his interview was. Yeah. Like, tell us a little bit about stuff. Like, I love baseball, man. Or like, it's like, tell him, like, I know you're baseball because I see it. Like, you wouldn't be here because they get a letter from the academy saying they want them. The recruiters want them, but they can't just automatically get them. And it's like, versus like sitting up, being a young man, and like nothing's given to you. Don't take anything for granted. You could be the best baseball player ever. But if you're going to sit back and say, yeah, like I told this young man when he gets those colleges that call, even if it's like now everything's on the phone, like you go down to the kitchen table, you want a practical tip, get in an attire that you would actually be in an interview and sit at the table and talk to them on the phone. You will act different. You will set yourself up different. That's the willingness to be different. Do what nobody else is willing to do. You know what? One of the first times he did, he was in his bed. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, who interviews in their bed? I'll tell you, everybody else, because it's on your phone. But if you're willing to be different and be that person, it's like, I'm going to be character no matter what. Like, you start to learn at this point in your life, yes, sir. Like, for people like me, I might still be old school, but it means something to me. Like, because the people that are usually in front of you, like the coaches that you went, like, they have paid their dues in life. They deserve that respect. Now, P413, I don't hear sometimes a lot of that. I don't really it's like a coach, like I get it. But at the same time, sometimes when you're getting ready for your future, you're going to have to learn yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. It's like, to me, it's a trait that should never go away. It's just giving a little bit of respect for those who have paid a lot of dues in life.
Yeah, I think those are great tips. I think it's good that you got to be thankful for the opportunities that you've been given, and don't be afraid to be you guys. Don't be afraid to show passion, show compassion, show passion, show people that you care. It's really easy to act tough and mean and I don't care about anything, but it's like, you're human. You're gonna care. Don't be afraid to show that. That's how you make connections. You make meaningful relationships by doing that. Your coaches see that you care when you show some passion, and you can do that respectfully. It doesn't have to be screaming and yelling and making the biggest scene in the world. You can do it with hustle, by showing up on time, leaving a little bit late, if you're able to. I mean, I get it if you're waiting on a ride and you can't really do that. I get it. Doing the little things, like, we used to race to see who could pick up the most baseballs, after like soft toss. Like, we would just run. I don't know. Do you still do soft toss? Yeah. I don't know. It's been a minute. But, we would race to see who could pick up the most. Just little things like that where, once practices get up to like 4 hours long, you're going to find ways to make fun and keep it interesting. So
one of the practical tips too I'll give you guys is I try to be different. Like, I go out of my way to be different in life. I just do. It's like, so these things, like, if you believe like we do, and you believe in a God and a hope in a future that's well beyond this earth, like if my hope's only in this earth, then I had a mother that died pretty early in my life, and it's like, I have a hope that one day I'm gonna see her again. Like, I got a hope that like when I go out and look at the stars, it's just not by chance. When I look at them, I'm like, there's something real here. And so I go out of my way to be different. Like, but I'm still the same as you guys. Like, you don't think I like Instagram Reels? Like, it's some of the best things ever. Like Fallen Juan, or like some of these things that like guys at work will be like, check this out. And I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. What is that? But what I do is I put it on my iPad, because my iPad's not with me a lot of times, but my phone's always with me. I don't do Instagram on my phone. And actually, even on my iPad, it's in a folder that's called Time Waster, because it's wasting my time. It's not doing anything in my life. It doesn't make, I don't get paid extra for watching Instagram. Like, it doesn't make me a better father. But there's some cool things on there. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to deny that, like, when he's playing baseball, I like to watch it. And I like to see P413 pumping up the other kids. And it's like, oh, this is good stuff. But if you believe in, like we do, that there's this amazing thing for when we do leave this life, then you have to believe in the opposite, that there's somebody out there that's actually trying to kill you. Just as honest as I can be. There's somebody that's trying to steal your dreams from you. It's the devil. He's trying to steal what you're trying to do. He's trying to steal it. And one way, in my mind, and what I believe, is through this. Like, if he can get you glued to this, it's like, oh, 5 more minutes of this, it takes 5 minutes away from what you could have been doing, whether it's your schoolwork, whether it's here, whether it's loving on somebody, whether it's serving your community. Like, as you go through high school, there's a thing called community service. And it's like, there's ways you can cheat that and just have somebody sign off, like, hey, grandma, like, or whoever. Or are you actually going to take it serious and actually go serve your community? Like, Judith's getting ready to go on a Mexico mission trip this spring, and it's like, it's going to be amazing. He's going to open his eyes to some of the poorest people you could ever see in your life. Basically live in cardboard boxes. Juan's family comes from Cuba, right? I did a tour in Cuba, Guantanamo Bay, back when the refugees were coming from Cuba, trying to get to America, risking it all. There's somebody that goes to our church, Morella, whose father tried to get her and her family to Cuba, and the first time he did it, got caught and did 3 years in prison. 3 years. Like, did 3 years in prison, got out and risked their life again, and made it. So, made it for the opportunity you guys already have. Like, that's what's awesome about this. But if you're on this, it's like, this can be a good tool. Don't let it run your life. Like, I see at the fire department, like, guys sit there like this, and it's like conversations going on, and it's like, it drives me nuts. When I do training, I actually have a thing on the thing. It's called a parking garage. And when I do training, you got to put it in there. Nothing in this life is more important than what I'm about to talk with you. And so it's like, if your wife's pregnant, I don't care. They'll figure it out. They'll call my secretary. Somebody would let you know that, hey, your wife's in labor. Because everybody's like, oh, I need this. What do you need it for? Like, when I was your age, I didn't have a phone. Street lights got me back at home. Like, when the street lights came on, I had to do that.
Yeah, no.
On the phone, you got anything?
I think the phone. It's kind of like a false idol, right? You can waste a lot of time on it. I think what Matt said's great. I don't have much more to say on that. They're great. Technology is good and it can be amazing, but it can also waste a lot of time.
And I'll end with this: have fun. Like, life is such an amazing gift. Life is such an amazing gift, and when you become like Ken and myself and Juan, and you start to have little ones, you start to realize, like, wow, life really became different in such an amazing way. But I wish when I was your age, I enjoyed it more. And one day you will. But man, when you can know that baseball is supposed to be fun, like, it's pressure, sure. You got to work, and there's ebbs and flow even at the fire department. We don't have a lot of fires, which is a good thing. But when we do, you better know what you're doing. Like, there's so much downtime in what we do that the training pays off in dividends. And we have those people that just kind of skate by, and they're a weak link. Thank God we got strong people that can pick them up. But there's so much opportunity for us to enjoy what we do. And it's mostly when you enjoy what you do, you're enjoying the people you're doing it with. Like, you guys are going to have these relationships here, coaches, your teammates. Like, when you can do some of these things and celebrate the success, man, you will make lifelong friends that you will take, that will lift you up. I hear Juan talking about occasionally people he played baseball with at every level that he still talks with. Like, do you have anybody at Eastern Michigan you still?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Lifelong friends, guys that were in my wedding. I mean, yeah, I think you think when you're younger, you think the reward is like the championship, the scholarship, the win, the home run, or whatever it is. But really, the reward is the process, the day in, the day out, the stuff that you think is mundane and boring and you don't want to do, but that's the reward. The process, the effort that you put in, the relationships that you build with each other, like, that's the stuff you remember as time goes on. Like, it's cool to win, and I love winning, but the stuff that lasts with you, I think, the most are the relationships you build during training, during practice, getting up, like, knowing you and your teammates are getting up early, probably when you don't want to get up early, or staying late, like tonight, to do this, or go to a practice that's late, knowing you're going to have to get up and go to school tomorrow. That's you building relationships and building character, just like we said in the very beginning. Those things build you up, and that's the stuff that's going to carry you through life, and the stuff that you'll remember. Like, it was fun to win, but I remember so many more stories. The fun times, the stories with my lifelong friends, or like, I just pulled a 48-hour shift, and I remember more of the fun jokes that we were making during training and stuff like that, versus the X number of calls we went on. It's that stuff fades. It's hey, this is the cool fun time we had working together.
He's saying he had fun. He just worked 48 hours. Put that in perspective. So, like, we want to leave a few minutes here for you guys to ask questions. I mean,
yeah,
he's played D1 baseball. You got a guy in front of you that's like done what your hopes, your dreams are. So, what kind of questions you guys got? No dumb questions. Promise.
Yeah, it's all good. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be about baseball. It could be really anything.
Talk a little bit about CrossFit.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So my background in CrossFit. When I was playing baseball, my two best friends told me, like, hey, you need to do CrossFit, and I was like, I don't do that cheating workout stuff. So I was still a little arrogant, but went into it, and again was immediately humbled. I was 23, and I got my butts kicked by guys that were 35. Like, I thought I was in shape, and absolutely got destroyed. And I, again, was given a choice, like, either I stay humbled and I work towards this, or stay arrogant and say, no, what I'm doing is the best thing I can do. And I stayed humble, and it ended up blessing me with a lot of things in this life. Like, I met my wife at a CrossFit event, and she's blessed me with two beautiful children. So I can't fault, when people give CrossFit a hard time, like, I'm never going to give it a hard time. Like, it's provided me with the most joy in my life to this point. So I was able to do some competitive things in CrossFit. I made a couple regionals. which was really cool. That was fun. Ended up in some international functional fitness federations and got to win a couple championships there. Go compete over in London, representing the USA, which was really neat. That was fun. And then I got to go into what was called the Grid League and ended up being a captain of a couple championship teams there as well. You can Google that. I'm not going to go into it, but that's a really fun sport to watch. It's kind of crazy. Looks pretty wild if you've never seen it. But it was actually one of the most fun competitive ventures I've ever had. And then I got to own my own gym for a little bit. But then again, once my daughter was born, I quickly realized I probably wasn't going to see her much. And that forced me into a different career path. And I always said, I asked my father-in-law for my wife's hand in marriage. And he said, what are you going to do to provide for my daughter? And I said, I'll either start a gym or join the fire service. And I'd done one, and that wasn't going to work out, so I did the other. And I'm so happy I did, and now I'm here. Yeah.
Still doing it. And it's
yeah.
it's a big community. CrossFit is like, man, they champion one another. It's individual, but at the same time, it's like it's an extension of a family.
Very supportive.
Yeah.
It's cool.
No questions? You guys come and spend an hour of your life. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. That was good. That was fun. So my kids are still doing good.